comes to the CEO Summit that has kicked off in Nairobi today. And we'll be getting in touch with Nwakip Kemboi, who will be giving us a perspective on that particular summit and what the first day has looked like. All right, my name is Calvin Yakundi. Stick around as we get and delve deeper into the business stories of the day. Now, let's get right into it. The CEO Summit has kicked off today with a focus on climate resilience. Now, the summit is focusing sustainable investments in insurance sector. It will run till Friday, that is the 20th of September 2024. Nwakip Kemboi, my colleague, has been on this particular front since earlier today, and he has been talking to various stakeholders in this particular sector. All right, so Noah, good afternoon. Give us a perspective on what the first day has looked like and what we expect to see even as the days go by.
All right, good afternoon, Calvin. Indeed, quite an active day, so to put it. It's one of those pertinent days that could be life-changing in terms of we as a country, we as a continent, and the world all over, because it is the meeting of minds and basically focusing on matters insurance industry. Remember what happened in 2020 during the COVID period. There was this shake-up across all sectors, and thereafter we've seen sort of a new world in regards to approaches and innovation. It's even on a higher note. So this CEO Summit was critical in regards, and is critical in regards to bringing thought leaders in different spaces, from different countries, from all over the world, to come and think about growing the sector, but not only growing the sector in Yakundi, but growing the sector sustainably, because we are in the age of sustainability. Now, later on, I was hoping to have a chat with Dr. Hilary Washinga, who's the Group MD of Kenya Re. I was just waiting for him. He's disappeared somewhere, but soon I'll be able to get him. But even as that is being worked on, Nyakundi, quite a number of issues have been raised this morning on to the afternoon in regards to the key speakers, keynote speakers. And one of the issues that came up strongly in Nyakundi is the way the world is changing, and even the way we approach risks. There are new risks that are coming up that the insurance sector has to be privy of and sort of find a way of cushioning, Kenyans, Africans at large. And one of them is the climate change. The climate risk change. It is a huge impediment that we've seen impacting a lot of people. Being an agricultural continent, remember our economy is agri-backed. So if at all there is change, and also it's rain-fed, dependent on rain-fed agriculture. So if at all there is climate change, there poses a lot of risk. Question is, how does the sector position itself to make sure that it's cushioning a majority of Kenyans who are involved in this ecosystem? So that has come up as a major risk that the sector needs to handle. But also at the same time, we have the cyber risk because we're talking about insurtech, going tech-wise. Therein lies a risk about cyber security. And that's why we had the data commissioner of the country here discussing this particular issue. So quite a number of risks are coming up, and these CEOs are meeting and brainstorming. How do we handle this risk? How do we make sure that they're being handled in a more sustainable way? But at this particular moment, I'm joined by Dr. Hilary Washinga, who's the Group MD, Kenya Re. Thank you very much, sir, for making time. Quite a huge summit here for CEOs. Is this the inaugural summit? And what does it mean for the sector, not only locally, but Africa as a continent?
Thank you, my friend. So this is our first CEO summit in our 44 years of existence. And the objective here is to bring together global minds, the thought leaders, to influence policy. And these policies should contribute ideally to a better economic environment and better regulation, meaning we may have to do business sustainably but also responsibly. So the essence here is to bring out issues that literally affect our industry. You are right, things like data privacy, but how do you balance data privacy and insurance business? Okay, cyber security, again, you may see it as a challenge, but it comes with opportunity. For us as insurance players, I'm sure you know we have solutions for managing that risk, like cyber risk covers and the like. Then we have other issues like ESG. How ready are we to protect your wealth, okay, in light with the now climate-related catastrophes, for instance? Okay, so again, we have products that are responsive enough to protect you. Okay, then we have the issue of regulation. At times when you look at it, it is not harmonized across borders. For Kenya, for instance, we do business in Africa, Middle East, and Asia. When you look at regulation like data protection, you might find some of these countries in these three jurisdictions are quite ahead of time. Okay, but how do we ensure we comply with all these laws, especially where we are now trying to see that being enacted, compared to Kenya, where, again, we've been compliant for a couple of years. Okay? Again, you have things like risk-based supervision. You find our jurisdiction, our country, again, might be ahead of others. Now, how do we now balance our capital, allocate, reallocate, and still sustainably do business profitably?
At the core of the insurance discussion, especially in Africa, is the huge disparity where we see, overall as a continent, insurance penetration very low. Then, in that figure, South Africa has dominated for a long time. And in Kenya, we talk about 3% insurance penetration in this country. And every year we discuss about insurance is about boosting this penetration and more uptake of insurance. As a meeting of CEOs, what are some of the solutions that you're looking at to make sure that insurance becomes a household need and also at affordable price for the majority of the people who actually need more affordable insurance?
It's a very good question, And we want to start with quick wins. So the first thing is to create public awareness. Now, if you are aware that you need insurance, that is very different from the perception that insurance is a luxury. You see it as a need because you are aware that by taking insurance, for instance, you are managing your risks. You are protecting your wealth. Okay? So that is a personal initiative that can only come from an informed mind. Then we look at our ecosystem. We have new innovations like this micro-insurance. Now, if you look at a country like Kenya, we are so much ahead of others when you think about adaptation of technology. Okay, both for innovation and for distribution. Now, if you are to map micro-insurance on our technological platforms, like now mobile or internet, we should be able to make it accessible to masses and, of course, affordable. So those are another quick wins. Then the policy directions. Okay, that should be flexible and, of course, geared towards responding to market needs. So if you look at most of the solutions that we distribute, some of them have outdated clauses that make it very difficult to sell right now. Okay? Then lastly is the issue of transparency. You find in the market the way insurance is sold, okay, maybe it is not clear to the buyer. And the buyer only come to realize when they have a claim that there were all those exclusions. There's a lot that was not disclosed to them. So again, we are pushing it from all these angles, and we believe that will now improve the penetration. And second, when you look at it from another angle, the issue of penetration has been with us, and this is mainly because we have our economies growing so fast, our GDP is growing so fast compared to now the growth of premiums. So long as we have that disparity, that you have economies that are growing so fast compared to the uptake of insurance, then the rate will always be low. But if you look at it growth-wise, okay, compared to other countries, you come to realize our insurance uptake actually has gone up. Only that the GDP is growing faster, outpacing the growth of premiums.
Definitely. And lastly, before I let you go, you look very young. I might mistake you for a Gen Z. And, you know, we are a very young continent. The average age of Kenya, I think, is 19. Overall, everyone is looking at Africa as the future. When you think about labor, it is quite a divisive discussion that we've seen the president, labor export and whatnot. But as the insurance sector, you have this mass of young people growing up so fast in this continent that is still way untapped. I wonder, what opportunities are you looking into that? And you've talked of microinsurance, tailor-making products. For the young population, do you have them in mind, and how are they thinking from an insurer's perspective?
Thank you, thank you. Again, we should focus so much on creating awareness. Okay, if you look like, for instance, at the recent happenings, the political upheavals in Kenya on the Gen Z, that was an eye-opener. That we have a huge population, okay, that is so active in the cyberspace. Should we have products that are actually responsive enough to join that space? Because if these people are able to consume luxuries, they rarely safe. That means they can buy insurance. So do we tailor-make our solutions to also follow them, because that is where they are? Then also change your mindset. If you talk to many young people, for instance, they've never taken a life solution because they think that is for the old, people who are dying. How do you change their mindset? Again, it's about public, mass education, mass sensitization, that insurance is a necessity, not a luxury.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You know, you've touched a little bit on the way the economy is growing faster than the sector. That's why we have the disparity in number, because we measure as a percentage of GDP. But looking at the macros, of course, majority of countries in Africa are riddled by debt. So we see even what led to Gen Z's, some of the pertinent issues, revenue raising, is becoming as a constraint by the day. I'm thinking as an insurance sector player, how are you processing the macroeconomic outlook of the country and the continent at large, and how is that impacting your industry, and how are you adapting to that?
No, a very good question again. Okay, if you look at Kenyan economy, for instance, our macros have now stabilized. If you look at the currency, for instance, okay, last year was a quite abnormal year. You may take a lot of maybe years to see something similar to what happened last year. Okay, our shilling again lost so much against major currencies. Now, it has been stabilizing since the beginning of the year, trying to look for its true value. I'm very sure you know that. And if you look at the past quarter, for instance, we don't have a lot of volatility, stabilizing. That is the currency. If you look at inflation, again, we have now really contained inflation. It is now averaging around 4%, which is very important. But, however, we have the issue of interest rate. And the interest rate now, that is where now we have all the negative effect of macros on our business. Because when you have a high cost of financing, it means you have dried up liquidity and people cannot access or afford insurance. So long as we are trying to contain that, if we have a way of bringing it down, then we can have liquidity, money in circulation, meaning a lot of economic activities, and without demand of insurance. So again, we hope and we trust that going forward, we should be able to stabilize interest rates, for instance, and accessibility to capital, because that brings the issue of affordability of insurance. But again, when you look at the environment we operate in, we have technology. Kenya, let me say our IT literacy is above 80%. So this country is so prime, okay, for now insurance to be innovated through technology, things like big data, and also distributed through technology. This is the place. Yes.
Yeah, I'm supposed to hand over. That aspect, that balance, I liked it, because you've mentioned that liquidity, when macros are not interest especially, it affects liquidity. Not many people are able to buy insurance. But on the flip side, Also, you guys are investors, the money that you take, and you look at the rates in some of the areas that you invest into. Let's talk of government papers, for example. The rates have been quite high. So how do you balance that? It seems like some sort of conflict of interest, briefly.
A very good question. You see, for investment purposes, and again, the key contributor to drying up of liquidity is the fact that when you look at the people with money, banks, they opt to give the monies to governments than lend to you, the buyer of insurance, because it is easy and, of course, very attractive rates from the government. So, again, for governments to ensure there is liquidity, they can try now again to disintensify now investment in government papers. So whenever you see government offering very high rates, they are mopping out liquidity through domestic borrowing. Okay, that is good for us and for our shareholders. Our shareholders' wealth goes up because that means more investment income. But when you look at now the population, the buyers of insurance, it means they don't have money to invest, meaning lesser economic activities and, of course, lesser affordability of insurance. So it's good for shareholders.
Thank you.
I'm sure you're one of them.
But I hope I'm one of them. But thank you very much, MD. You look sharp. Continue enjoying your summit, the inaugural summit. All right, there you go. So, Mr. Nyakundi, there we have it. The MD himself, Dr. Hilary Washinga, who's the group MD at Kenya Re, and he says that yes, the macros have been stabilizing. All these, of course, the interest rate is still a concern, but he says that utilization of technology, that is the vehicle that could actually bring a lot of change in the sector, boost penetration and make sure that you and me are getting insurance. Back to you, Calvin.
Right, Noah, thank you so much for just giving us the perspective of the first day and just speaking about the innovation for sustainable growth when it comes to global insurance industry. All right, now earlier this year, the Kenyan government unveiled a plan to employ over 200,000 seafarers